Welcome to a new daily top Askreddit video. Today's topic. What's some popular self-care / self-love advice that is actually really toxic? Be who you are is only good advice if you're a good person. A lot of people take this to mean that literally anything and everything about yourself is above criticism, and yeah, it's super effing toxic. It's basically don't improve yourself. Deleted. If people don't like you for you who are, that's their problem. No, sometimes you're the asshole. 9/10 the common denominator rule stands. If you run into an asshole every now and then, that's normal. If everyone you interact with is an asshole, you're the asshole. My dad's version of this was, if everywhere you go smells like dog shit, it's probably on your shoe. Positive vibes only. You just need to stay positive. People use it because they think it's uplifting, but it's actually quite dismissive. Often people say it when people voice sadness, frustration, emotional fatigue, anger, basically any other emotion but happiness. A positive attitude can get you a long way, but so can acknowledging and letting yourself / others feel emotions. Edit. Okay, wow, this blew up in a way I'd never have imagined. Firstly, thank you for the rewards, this is bizarre. Secondly, to all those having a hard time, and/or have people in their lives dismissing them with this stuff, I'm sorry that you are going through it. I hope and wish there will be better times around the corner for you soon. Third, my original edit is now in a reply to this post because on review it seemed too long. If you're interested, it's there somewhere. If not, cool. My husband said this to me at the height of the pandemic when I was coming home sobbing after 10+ hour shifts as a COVID nurse. He asked me to move out because it was too much for him. He learned it from his life coach. Moving out and going through trauma therapy made me realize not only is that really bad advice, it is detrimental to your mental health. Already knew most of it, but now my husband is begging me to come home for his mental health. Edit. Thanks everyone for putting time into comment. Thanks for the awards. Wish I could respond to everyone. To clarify, the life coach is not a therapist, he is a friend of my husband's. I am encouraging him to see a therapist. I am guarding my mental health with my life. We will go to marriage counseling when I am ready. I will not move back in unless I feel loved and supported. I am not doing this for my daughter, it for myself first. Also, someone had commented, why go back to somewhere that I cry every day? COVID was an unusual beast, especially at the peak. I had cried once in the 19 years prior to COVID. I saw and did things at the peak of COVID that I had never seen or done before. It was unprecedented and we were all unprepared and grossly understaffed. I hate to compare it to actual combat, but it was vaguely like being in a war. COVID is not over, but with the vaccine and the education we have now, it is less terrifying and the numbers are way down. I hope we don't ever have to go through anything like that again. But if I ever need anyone's ass kicked, I know who to go to. Reddit. What about your mental health? What a shitty life coach. Damn, that is rough. What are your plans? I'm not sure I could go back to someone who did that. Toxic positivity. 100%. I have a friend who tries way too fucking hard to find the positive in absolutely everything. Sometimes you just need to let things be. Not everything has to have a happy ending or a silver lining. Approaching things that way is exhausting and takes away from hardening the fuck up and learning from tough situations. It's not really advice, but it's popular for people to label themselves as brutally honest. Honesty is good, but beware of people who are more interested in the brutality than the honesty. The difference between honesty and brutal honesty is something called tact. My stepfather delighted in upsetting family members by telling them stuff that was truthful, but in a very callous way. Then when called on it, would just say, "What, I'm just telling the truth." No, you just like to upset people by verbalizing their insecurities. No, you just like to upset people by verbalizing their insecurities. That was beautifully put. I'm going to use it next time someone tells me they're brutally honest. I once read something that said honesty without kindness is cruelty, and I think about that a lot when I'm deciding whether or not to say something. This and kind is not the same thing as nice. That was one that made me think too. The how not to give a fuck nonsense. I agree, don't give a fuck what people think if you enjoy a certain type of music. But do give a fuck about how your actions affect other people. Unfortunately, it seems that many people just take it to mean don't care that you might hurt other people. In order to self-care and self-love, it is important to consider what consequences your actions have on the world around you. There is a whole industry built around what I call narcissism as self-help. It essentially boils down to everyone else is wrong, you're always right, the only problem you need to fix is that you care too much about what other people think. There is definitely something to be said for people who are far too self-conscious, but social interaction is a core concept for being a healthy, happy human. You aren't going to find happiness by turning into a sociopath. The problem is that the type of advice that you give an anxiety-ridden introvert is not the same type of advice that a Kardashian needs to hear. I've decided the way to think about this advice is don't give a fuck what other people think of you, but absolutely do give a fuck how you make other people feel. Though it's still not super helpful, IMO. Humans are social creatures and you can't just decide to turn off the part of your brain that craves acceptance. Live your truth. There is a fine line between authenticity and being an asshole. I've yet to meet a person who uses "I'm speaking my truth" who didn't clearly mean I don't care how incorrect or hurtful what I'm about to say is, if you don't accept it you're disrespecting me. Edit, to clarify since some replies are bringing up specific people. I don't know much about celebrities. I was mostly thinking of a former co-worker who would use the phrase constantly when being blatantly wrong but still expecting to be accommodated for her preferred reality. Yup, it's more like, I only live in my truth, the rest of the world be damned it they don't align. Stop texting people first to see who your friends are. What if they are doing the same thing and you just ended a friendship due to a misunderstanding? Edit, okay, this blew up more than I thought. There's a lot of people saying, well, what about in this scenario, what about this, and thing is, in some scenarios this is good advice. But in a lot of cases this is terrible advice. Like, yes, if you're the only one doing work in the friendship then maybe you should re-evaluate it, but it also could be someone is going through something that you don't know about and they really don't want to talk to anyone at that time. So what I was really trying to say is that this isn't a solution for everyone. It's really just a solution for some. Any form of testing your relationships like that is basically heading towards abuse territory. Imagine if a guy decided to stop responding to his girlfriend to see if she loves him enough. Yeah, number. I will say though, there's a difference between people deciding to do a test and people that realize they're the only one putting effort in and get tired. Relationships should be reciprocal, but they should also just be driven by want for interaction. If you text first all the time but feel fine about your relationship, then it is a fine relationship just the way it is because that's how you're compatible as people. But if you feel you need more back from that person, it's not compatible the way it is. Ignore the haters. Sometimes the haters are people who love you and want to warn you of potential pitfalls, such as MLMs, cults, abusive relationships, etc. Update, a few people are saying that the definition of haters is, essentially, only people who are hating for the wrong reasons. I agree, that's what this advice intends to communicate. Basically, don't pay any attention to people who project consistent irrational negativity your way. My concern is that this phrase is so easily misapplied as a self-love mantra which ultimately serves to keep some vulnerable people from listening to the valid and well-intentioned concerns of loved ones. It can be used by a manipulative person to keep victims /vulnerable followers in line. I like haters gonna hate better because it implies there is a pattern. Like, oh, that person is always hating so of course they're hating now. But if your sister is usually supportive, and definitely not a hater by nature, and is suddenly very concerned that your relationship is abusive, listen up. I think it comes down to the idea that you have, arguably, more to lose by disregarding a well-intentioned friend than by paying attention to an ill-intentioned one. I appreciated the feedback and did not find any of you to be haters. I'm a stupid idiot person who doesn't understand the acronym. Can someone please tell me what MLM means? Edit, thanks guys. Edit 2, didn't expect these replies to be so wholesome. You folks are incredible people, thanks again. Multi-level marketing, it basically means a pyramid scheme, I think. Do whatever feels right. Sometimes what feels right is cutting your veins open, but that's not gonna heal you. There's also the problem that sometimes we have to go through some unpleasant things in the short term to get worthwhile benefits in the long term. If you always avoid things that make you uncomfortable, you're probably stunting your own growth. Most of the personal development I've achieved in the past couple years was found exactly that way. That one thing I didn't want to do was usually what I had to do in order to obtain the long-term results I was searching for. Follow your heart. Honestly, this statement almost never works. Sometimes love can be toxic, and maybe the correct decision is painful. Maybe it pains you to leave someone. Your heart shouldn't rule you. Edit. First, thanks for all the feedback on this. I enjoy seeing what others think on this issue, but seeing what a lot of people are saying. Response: I wanted to clear some things up. First off, I'm not saying to never follow your heart, and to always pick the typical logic route. Sometimes risks are good, whether it be with taking a risk for a new job or starting a new relationship. What the point I was trying to get across is not to follow your heart blindly, use logic. If there is a bad situation, get out, no matter what your heart thinks. Your heart is stupid. Listen to your heart but follow your head. Unfortunately, my head is also stupid. I've had some luck following my stomach.